Front-facing arrangements are all about balance and placement, getting those key focal flowers just in the right place. There is nowhere to hide in a front-facing arrangement. You're looking at it face on, and if things aren't in the right place and the whole structure isn't well balanced, then it's going to be glaringly obvious. So today, a front-facing arrangement, spring flowers. We've got beautiful hellebores, tulips, ranunculus, some blossom. So I'm going to use this lovely silver urn. I have placed a green bulb bowl in the top, just this shallow bowl with chicken wire in it. So the first thing I'm going to do is decide how tall my design is going to be, and that is based upon the container it's going into. You want the height of your foliage and your flowers to be about 2.5 times the height of your container, to be in proportion. I'm going to place this lovely bit of prunus here. So that's determined my height. Now I want to determine my width. So I'll choose another piece of blossom. I'm going to choose one that's not as flower heavy, and I'm going to determine that my width is going to be around about here. So when I look at the height, I can draw a kind of line down from the tallest piece to the piece that's determining the width of the design. So I've got my height and I've got my width. So I'm going to use some of this viburnum as my foliage, but the foliage is not going to create my outline. It's going to go in quite low down and start covering my mechanics up. If I started putting big green-leaved foliages as the outline of my design, I'm already creating a design that's very heavy on foliage, and I want this to be really light and airy and very flower heavy. So my viburnum is going down low to start filling in the sides. I'm putting this in quite low down. I'm not bringing it over the edge of the container too much. I don't want it to cover this. I want to be able to see this beautiful urn. And I'm using this very heavy piece of blossom to place around about here, so that I bring the blossom through the design. It isn't just all on the outside. So it brings a kind of continuity through into the middle of the design, and you see blossom throughout it rather than just around the edges. So this design has got quite a lot of negative space. It's got this lovely kind of V shape here. And we're going to keep that because it's going to help the flowers that go in this stand out more. So not having a backdrop of foliage or other flowers, they're going to stand out in their own right. So I'm going to add another filler flower, and it's wax flower, because it doesn't dominate too much, this flower. It's almost a flower foliage. So my first layer is all about defining the outline and the shape, and then covering mechanics, adding fillers in, so we have a really good foundation when we come to put our focal flowers and our more expensive flowers in. I've got this lovely butterfly ranunculus. It's quite tall, it's dainty and airy, and I want this up at the back of my design. So I'm going to place it around about here, where that negative space is. So you can really see this head, it's really standing out. All the time trying to get this beautiful face flower to look at me. So always trying to angle them so that they are showing you their best face. And now for some tulips. I always take the bigger leaves off the tulips. I don't mind leaving one small one up here. These are a very pointed flower. They don't have a face. So I'm going to use them as more of a filler, and also to add some shaping to it, so we don't have kind of blunt edges. We have nice tippy edges. When placement is really key and you need to add in flowers for volume, it's always worth adding things in from the back rather than from the front. So place your key flowers in from the front, and any additional flowers that you need to shape or to fill, try adding them in from the back, because then they don't interfere with your focal flowers. I'm being quite careful about the tulips because I know they're going to grow, so I'm not going to put them in places where I know as they grow they'll spoil the design. So they're not going in the middle, they're not focal flowers anyway. I'm putting them in areas where if they continue to grow, they're still going to look good. They're not going to spoil the whole dynamic of the design. And I'm putting them in groups. There are no single tulips. They're all in a group of three here, a couple here. They're working together. They're not scattered. Now for some real focal flowers. Small ranunculus, but ranunculus have this lovely multi-petaled face. And in fact, these ones have opened up and they've actually got a centre in them. So they've got just a little bit of yellow stamens showing. So definitely a face-on flower. And they've also got a bit of bend in them. Sometimes ranunculus can be very rigid, but these smaller-headed ones have much more delicate stems, so they bend a little bit more, which is easier to use. You've got a more kind of natural bounce to them. So they're going to go in very key places. I'm popping them in as a little group. You see this one has got a lovely tippy head, so it's kind of coming forward out of the design. Now for another face flower. I cut these really lovely narcissi this morning. And they've got a really pretty face. They are a kind of creamy colour, kind of self-coloured. And I'm going to put this one just here. Now, it's going to want to kind of tip downwards, and I don't want it to do that. I want it to stand up a bit straighter. So I'm going to just manoeuvre it so that this little bit of ranunculus is behind its head. I'm just going to, it's a very flexible stem, I'm just going to wind it around the stem of the narcissi to make it do what I want it to do. I have two anemones, just two, and they're probably the most focal flower in this design because of the black centre. Most people's eyes will be drawn to where most of the flowers are, which is this area here. So I've put this larger one in here, and I'm going to put the smaller one next to it. So I wouldn't spread these out. I wouldn't put one up here and one down here. I'm putting them in as a little group. So we're going to just pop them in so one sits just below the other one. So adding that little pop of like a highlight in here with the anemone, just the two. So I'm using a few little paper white narcissi of a little face-on flower that doesn't dominate, but kind of just stands alone. So we're just going to finish with a few hellebores. I love this green hellebore. It's got the seed head on it, so it's really nice and tough. I know it's not going to wilt. I'll add some in so that they come in here and we can see them because they're beautiful spring flower. They go with the other flowers, but they're going to sort of bring everything together. And I'm going to pop a couple in higher up so that we can actually see them through here. Again, they've got a face. You put them in the right way, you can see their lovely little hellebore face. I'll have them just tipping over the edge here so you can really notice them. So to recap, the prunus went in first to define the height and the width so it was in proportion with the container. Then we added low-level fillers like the wax flower and the viburnum to cover our mechanics but not interfere too much with the overall design. We added the tulips because they've got this lovely tip on them on the outside and then through the design so that the edges weren't too blunt. Then the focal flowers, the ranuncula, the narcissi with those faces, the anemones and the hellebores. So the overall look is quite flower heavy but still delicate, very spring, and everything kind of works together. Everything is in the right place, everything has space around it and it's in proportion. I hope you enjoyed it and I shall see you next time.